Our most precious Heavenly Father, you know where we are tonight, and you know what our reason is being here. And that's to do the work of the people of Benson and for all the businesses that are here that are trying hard to be a success. Lead us and guide us as we go through the deliberation and the things that we have to discuss tonight, and give us words when we don't have the right ones to say, so that we can get the job done and it'll be pleasing in your sight. And forgive us of our sins, for all the things, and guide us in our daily work and the job that we are doing as a person and as an elected official. In God's name we pray. Amen. Amen. Let's stand and bring the meeting to order. Pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May be seated. I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda as presented.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Public comments. Introduction of new hires by Kimberly Pickett, our town manager.
So tonight, I am pleased to introduce you all to our two new full-time firemen. We have Mr. Tyler Gordon and Mr. Austin Pope. Tyler lives on Tar Heel Road in Benson. He started his career in 2016 volunteering with the Elevation Fire Department, where he is currently serving as a lieutenant. He was hired on as a firefighter in 2018 with Holly Springs. In 2020, he went to 5210 before he started here in November. He is going to be working the A shift, and on his days off, he works part-time with Cleveland as an engineer, and he helps his mom manage Grill on the Hill. Oh, there you are. You want to say anything? Not at all. All right. Austin lives in Princeton. He started his career out in 2012, volunteering with Princeton Fire Department, where he is currently serving as the assistant chief. From 2014 to 2016, he worked in Clayton part-time. Later, part of 2019 until 2020, he worked full-time with the Sanford Fire Department, where he later resigned to drive trucks over the road full-time. Austin started with us in November, and he will be on our C shift. And on his off days, he owns his own truck and does local hauling for himself. Want to say anything?
Thank y'all for what you do for us.
Thank you. Welcome to Benson.
Welcome, guys, and we're glad to have you. And you're going to be a member of the best fire department there is in the country, and by far the best fire chief that there is. So, welcome.
Couldn't agree more.
We now have a presentation on the MS4 permit. Beth?
So Beth McLaughlin has been our consultant on the MS4 stormwater permit now for over a year. And so she's going to come up and just present to you guys what the MS4 is, what the permit entails, and kind of some of the regulations that we have to do in-house. So.
Thank you. Good evening. Good to be here with y'all. And the presentation I'm going to give you, I hope will not put you to sleep. It's only like, I don't know, less than 10 slides. So it's probably a 10,000-foot flyover level of your permit. And hopefully this isn't new to you, but it may be a little bit new to you, or at least some of the pieces of it. So first I want to talk with you about what the permit is, the structure of the permit. There are a whole bunch of different names for it. We shorten it down to your stormwater MS4 permit, but it comes under the MPDS program, similar to your wastewater permit. MS4 stands for Municipal Separate Storm Sewer System. Words mean things and matter, and that definition for MS4 matters because it's really about how you manage your stormwater system and how you define your stormwater system, which hopefully we'll be talking about next year, defining the stormwater system and what the town owns and operates. So these permits were issued first to large communities back in 1990, And then in 2003, 2005, the new permits started rolling out. 2010, they started designating the smaller communities. The focus of the permit is water quality, not water quantity. You can't see water quality as much. We can see flooding with water quantity. So we have to look at water differently, stormwater and runoff a little bit differently. It's kind of like your wastewater permit, but not really. Wastewater permit, you have end of pipe discharge. Your stormwater permit, you don't. Town of Benson really flows into two different river basins, the Cape Fear River Basin and the Neuse River Basin. And that makes a difference because there are different rules for the portion of the town that drains into the Neuse River, specifically Hannah Creek, which I believe is the reason that the town was designated to begin with, because there was an impaired stream. The state determines what's impaired and what's a good stream. And Hannah Creek is within the town boundaries and is impaired. And so we have a little different expectation for those projects in the Neuse River Basin than we do in the Cape Fear River Basin. So there is a little bit of difference based on where you're located. So what is the storm sewer system or the stormwater system? That's pipes and ditches that convey water. You know, in the past, we used to think that we just wanted to get water out of the town, and now we're starting to see water quality and quantity in a little bit different light. So that also involves ponds, dry ponds, not like farm ponds or existing ponds, but created or designed ponds as well, like we see here in that picture. Sometimes it looks like stormwater ponds, sometimes it doesn't really look like a stormwater control measure. So it's not very straightforward. So let me tell you a little bit about your history in case, or give us an idea of the history in case it's not new and fresh in your brain. In 2010, we were designated, the town was designated. The first permit was in 2012. Each permit that's issued is for a 5-year period, so there has to be a renewal. So we submitted for renewal and obtained that in 2018. Then the state had a little shift in administration, and the new person over the stormwater program changed a lot, and that included an audit, which I'm sure you all have heard discussed before when Tim Robbins was here and was kind of moving that forward. The town's program was audited, and deficiencies were identified, and in 2012, a notice of violation was issued to, or 2020, I'm sorry, a notice of violation was issued to the town, and there was an extended period because of COVID before we were able to completely address the NOV, but we did address it in 2001, and in 2022, just in October, I think it was, we submitted the new permit renewal and application. And we are assumed to be in compliance because we've met all the criteria that they've given us. And one big, huge feather in your hat for a number of reasons is the construction of the new Public Works facility. Not only is that great for your Public Works, it's also really good to check off a whole bunch of boxes in your MS4 permit, your stormwater permit for compliance. So those are really good things where we are right now. To give you an idea about what that permit looks like, there are 5 minimum controls that are in that permit, and the minimum controls are just kind of program areas that we have to function under. One is public education. We have to educate the public about water quality, not just quantity. Another one is public involvement. So we're involving the community in our stormwater program. So that would be, you know, if there are any major modifications to ordinances and things like that, we would have public hearings on those so people can comment on that. Also, your clean sweep, big clean of the town, that can be with a little bit of modification. That can also be public involvement for water quality perspectives as well. There's another program called Illicit Detection and Discharge Elimination Program, IDDE. That is where we are trying to find those discharges that are non-stormwater. So somebody dumping paint down a storm drain, or a spill. And so we're trying to find those illegal or illicit discharges and remove them from the stormwater system. There's a whole spectrum of activities that we've got to complete to be in compliance with that. And then the last two controls are construction site runoff control and post-construction runoff control. Those are for new development and geared towards new development. The town has a memorandum of agreement with Johnston County to do plan review and to do inspections. But there are a couple of pieces that we've got to put in place here at the town level to make sure we stay in compliance with those two controls. Pretty straightforward there. So there's also a requirement for administering the permit and overseeing the permit, because as you see, when we look at these 5 minimum controls, they're dispersed throughout your departments. It's not one person in one location. It's really dispersed throughout the all of your departments and your administration. And so we have the administration component that keeps us on track. We have to keep in a forward projection with this. So we manage the memorandum of agreement with Johnston County for plans review and inspection. The town has an agreement with the Clean Water Education Partnership, QUEP, that we pay into, the town pays into on an annual basis for public education. It meets most of the public education criteria. Then we've put together the stormwater management plan and a committee to kind of move forward and keep us on track, hopefully so we don't get a bad audit in the future. And then there's also an annual report required every year to report on what we've done. And so all of those things kind of come up underneath that administration task. So things that I see that we're doing in 2023, and that's based upon our stormwater management plan, I anticipate there are going to be some ordinance changes to make sure that new development is, any triggers for new development to go for plan review for erosion sediment control or post-construction stormwater review, that we're making sure that they're caught in that review process. We're going to need to update ordinances to address illicit discharges and be very clear with that and have the enforcement tools that the town may need. I anticipate that we'll also have some policy changes related to how much of the stormwater system the town is going to own, maintain, or put on the private ownership. And then there is quite a bit of information that we need to kind of build around how we're managing impervious surfaces on lot level development. And that's going to sound like I'm talking Greek to you, but it has to do with how much built upon area you have on a residential lot, because that's one of the things that we have to track over time. And then we have y'all have a great social media outreach and have a really good following. I'm included in that. And so doing some public education and outreach through that social media as well. So that's kind of what I see for 2023 for implementation for the stormwater permit. And that was a very high level discussion of the permit. Do y'all have any questions given that information?
I would like to know on the holding ponds that a subdivision goes in or a Walmart comes up and they put in a stormwater holding pond.
Mm-hmm.
Who's responsible for it and for how long?
So the requirement in the permit that is clear in black and
Yeah.
white, there's a whole bunch of gray in there that we're going to have to talk through over time, but for the black and white piece of it, that retention pond has to remain in place and functioning the way it was designed in perpetuity is what the permit says, so forever and ever, amen. The ownership of that or the operatorship of that can be placed on private ownership or public ownership. It kind of depends on the community, and that is one of the policies that we need to go and talk through later in the year. There's some options. There are many options for that.
Okay, so if a subdivision went in and they required, instead of curb and gutter, they said, okay, we're gonna do retention ponds, and this is them, and 8 years later, they're covered over and built on top of. Who is responsible, the community, the subdivision, or the contractor that put it in?
So that's a highly debated subject. I have seen situations where each one of those are responsible, depending on how it is managed. But that retention pond should go in a drainage easement, and that drainage easement is perpetual as well. And hopefully that drainage easement won't be built upon because it's going to be recorded as a drainage easement. So that's one way that we know it's there. But then owner and operatorship, if the town takes it over because it has town water that drains into it or public water that drains into it, then the town may have some responsibility. But if it's all private owned and private drainage that goes in there, then it is a responsibility of the development, a homeowners
So
association.
if it would have been in the city limits, then our inspectors, whether it was county and they got a permit to build there on top of it, then the inspector should have said, you can't do it.
Hopefully it's caught before it gets to inspections. Hopefully it's caught early enough in, a plot plan or preliminary plat or site plan, and not all the way at inspections. So yes, sir, there are some
Okay, so is
checks and
that-
balances.
Is that one of the things that would throw up a red flag that if it happened that we could get fined?
We, the town, could get fined?
We, the town, if it's in the city limits, and we, the town, had something to do with it. And we're providing the water for it, and we're providing the inspections for it.
It's possible that you could get into non-compliance with it.
Okay.
And have some type of remediation that had to be done by the town. I doubt it would go as far as, did you know about it and you did it anyway? That's one of the first questions that would be asked in enforcement. And if the answer to that's no, then you didn't do it willfully. And so I would anticipate that it would be some type of negotiated mitigation for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you've answered my question.
I've danced all around an answer, but yes.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Other questions? That is one of the biggest issues that communities that have Phase 2 permits have to deal with, is how to manage retention ponds and residential development. Private development, commercial or industrial development's easy, but the residential developments can be much more difficult.
Beth, when we went into the county with wastewater, did all the towns in the county become part of the county? It was individual?
No, it was, I also work with Johnston County as a consultant with them reviewing plans. So we do, the county does erosion sediment control for Wilson Mills, stormwater and erosion control for Archer Lodge. They used to do the town of Clayton, but the town took over their own program 2 years ago. A year ago? 2 years ago, I think it is. And then the memorandum of agreement with Benson, and that's it. The rest of the communities, so Smithfield has their own permit and they do their own thing. I don't know that Selma is designated. I'm not sure about other communities.
What advantage do we have by being part of the county?
I think it's a resource savings for the town. Because the county does the plan review and inspection, and it's consistent with the county's program. And so there's a design manual, there are these checklists, all the pieces that a developer needs to understand how the county plan, how the county program is run in terms of new development. That's the positive part of it. The negative part of it is the development plans for those projects within the town boundaries get stuck in the queue with the other county development plans as well.
But I've had a number of complaints over the last year about it takes forever to get a permit out of Smithfield. And sometimes 12, 16 weeks to get a permit's not very good. That's why I was asking the question.
Well, I would agree that 12 to 16 weeks is certainly not good. The schedule that we're involved with as stormwater, and this is only stormwater. There are a whole bunch of other departments within the county that touch a plan. So it isn't just stormwater, but the stormwater review process is right at 30 days for a submittal. So something is submitted, and the turnaround time is right at 30 days for a review. Now, if something has to be resubmitted, it gets back in the queue for that 30 days. And so I can think of a couple of projects that were submitted that were town projects where the county did not get complete applications, complete packages. And so that onus was really back on the engineer. It wasn't even the developer, it was back on the engineer. And so, we've got to be sure that our engineers are submitting those complete packages. So,
Beth, when you look at the impervious surface calculations, who sets those calculation requirements as far as what percentages? Is that set by the state level, or is that set by the county in our case, or is that something that if we were to take that on an individual basis, that could be set by the community?
it can be set by community.
Is there a minimum set by state?
Up to a percentage. So the permit has 24%. Anything that is less than 24% is considered low-density development. Anything above 24% and above that is high-density development. The county, many years ago, back in 97-ish, entered an agreement with U.S. Fish and Wildlife because of Swift Creek and the endangered dwarf ridge mussel that nobody ever saw back then, to develop a water quality program, stormwater quality program. And with that, and I was the stormwater manager back then, so I was one that developed this, so you can shoot me later. But we were trying to make it as easy as possible. And back then, the houses were small, the lots were huge. And the minimum lot size was 40,000 square feet. To be able to get water and septic on a lot, you'd have a minimum of 40,000 square feet. So we set 15% as our threshold. Anything less than 15% was considered low-density development. You didn't have to do anything else. The problem came about when our house sizes started getting bigger and the lot sizes started getting smaller, and 15% was easily tripped. And so that 15% is still there, but what the county is doing through building inspections now is checking what the actual imperviousness is on a lot for residential areas. And that wasn't being checked many years ago. We didn't catch that until 2000. The county didn't catch it until 2019.
So they're checking that based on if people pull permits. What is
Yep.
the enforcement and the policing of the impervious surface of people that do not go through the permit process? Is there any of that being?
I don't know that there's an active seeking out of those properties, simply because there's not enough resources to do that. And honestly, it was an oversight by the county. They missed it in the building inspection process. There are also some building processes that don't require a building permit. So the county does not require a building permit if you're going to pave or concrete. So we can't catch that, but that is imperviousness. And so the only thing that really kicks you into being reviewed for imperviousness would be a building permit. Yeah. It's not a perfect system. Certainly the county has learned through trial and error, a whole bunch of error, and hopefully
So now,
made it better.
and I guess now that we're looking at bringing back our permit process to us on January 1, then that impervious falls back on us instead of the county to do the permitting and stuff. So we will be the ones responsible for catching that.
Well, they're still doing stormwater.
Okay.
Yes.
That's staying with them.
Yeah, the county is going to keep the stormwater piece of plans review.
Okay.
What happens is how the town is interacting doesn't really change. It'll just be clarifying a couple of points to make sure that the county or that the town is routing the correct developments to the county for review. And then when it comes back out for construction to begin, the county will still be doing erosion sediment control inspections, but now the town also has building inspections to be able to check those things. And then the long-term operation and maintenance of those retention ponds and other types of best management practices will be partly the responsibility of the town. Not that we're taking a shovel out there and taking care of it, but that we are overseeing and making sure that that maintenance is being completed.
And the ones we have, if we see that they're not being maintained, we are sending letters to those people that are supposed to be working on those retention ponds and keeping them clean. So,
Well, I know we had one commercial one behind the old food line, that the town ended up going in and cleaning up and getting it operating because they had some flooding. And then we had one at Lake Shore that's nothing ever been done. Don't know who gave them permission to fill it in and do it, but it's in the city limits, so it came somewhere within the town. So,
I know we received complaints from Chase this year about some of the stormwater running off of those streets. What happens when the stormwater device or the erosion control plan doesn't work and a storm comes and it goes over and then it starts deteriorating private property? Is there any responsibility of the town or the county at that level?
Typically, private property to private property, water issues are, between those private property owners. Only if you have public infrastructure that's causing a problem on private property would the town need to step in. Yeah, but private property to private property is a big issue. And one of the things that the county has done, or is in the process of doing, is updating the requirements that they have. So most developments in the county are now going to have detention ponds, where in the past they haven't. And that's just a change because the county commissioners have said we're tired of getting flooding complaints. And so we are making some changes that will probably be late 2023 that will become effective then.
And that requirement will roll over into the city limits as well, correct? The requirement for retention ponds?
Most of your development in the city limits is already going to be over the imperviousness, or that percentage of 24% or 15%. So most of your developments inside the town are probably going to have those regardless of the change with the county.
yeah, well,
It would be the ETJ areas that might be a little bit different.
right after a couple had happened, there was some ordinances put in place where they have to put in curb and gutter, and that was not there. We thought it was as far as a retention pond. It was put in the city limits and it was not held up, but that had been changed now where a contractor comes in to do something, he knows what he has to put in and where the water has to go, and stormwater included, so. But as far as Benson's concerned, and your job, we're good as far as fines.
Yes, you are, we're in compliance. We've
Okay.
done everything that they've asked us to do. So there's no reason that the town would not be in compliance right now.
Okay, so
Yeah.
if they come up and find something else and we get fined, that goes back on you?
We have had this conversation before.
No, no, who's paying for it?
No, sir, no,
Okay.
sir. It is your permit. And so I make recommendations and suggestions, and then the decisions to move forward are y'all's decisions.
So really, our planning department gets this and they look at it, and
It's more
as
your,
far as permits?
your manager, your town manager is the one that's overseeing the
You
implementation.
heard that, Bill.
I did.
Yeah. It's being recorded.
Right now, our committee is myself and Aaron, and then Jeremy and Ray are on it. Ray's is really good with keeping documentation. He's done it with all of our other permits, and so he's going to keep the documentation. Tyler's on the committee, and Jamie Evans is on the committee from Parks and Rec. So
Okay.
it's a collective effort.
Any other questions of Beth? Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for
Thank you.
questions.
Thank you.
Individuals wishing to address the board are asked to provide their name and address for the record. If anyone wants to speak, come forward. Don't see anybody moving. I'll close the public hearing or the individual hearing and ask if there's anybody that has questions of the department reports. The town manager would have to answer the questions. There's two of them here.
Yeah.
No questions?
Where are we at, Erin? Is Erin on there?
Erin's on. Yeah,
Can
she's
she
on
hear
Zoom.
me?
Mhm.
I know several months ago, I think she told me we sent out like 87 letters and had 65. Where I saw the reports, but are we getting compliance from most of the people that we sent those letters out to, as far as dilapidated structures?
We have followed up with a lot of the property owners, the ones that had a lot of minor repairs, have done work to it. We're working with a few property owners that are like, maybe they have busted out windows, and are waiting for windows to come in. So we're monitoring it. We have not initiated any minimum housing enforcement proceedings. And that's where the step that we are at right now, because we have at least 10 that are in serious dilapidation that will need minimum housing enforcement. We had one that burned down that was at the top of our list. That's since been demolished. We had another building, a commercial building, that was on the list that was demolished. And so that's what we're doing right now, is trying to prioritize, because the process is so lengthy. The ones that are in severe condition, and if we've not heard from those property owners and we don't know the status of if they're working on it, to just proceed with minimum housing enforcement. So we're looking to ramp that up going into the new year, where we'll actually, give them dates to appear before the building inspector to answer for the condition of the properties.
All right. I just want to make sure you're not waiting on us. Okay.
Erin,
No,
have
we're
you
not
got-
waiting on you all. I mean, it's going to be, hopefully we have voluntary compliance. That's what we always want. The biggest thing is if we go through the process and they do nothing, and the town has to act and, demolish the property, that will impact, as far as budgeting concerns, and time and budgeting for demolishing these structures. So we want to be very strategic in the ones that, that we know that are open, and they may have people that are trespassing, that are in very, poor condition. Some of them are tied up in probate. And so each one is unique, and it's just a lengthy process. So we want to tackle them and chew off at a time. We don't want to, bring 10 minimum housing cases to you and say, okay, we need $60,000 to demolish these buildings because the property owners are not complying. So we want to work with them as much as we can within reason.
We need to be serious about this, because there's a number of, actually 3 contractors that are around all the time wanting to know if there's houses that they can buy to remodel to get rid of these substandard houses. And until we put the pressure on the people that own them, they're going to be sitting there idling. So we need to put pressure on them.
Yeah, that's a very good point, Mayor. Kim, I sent her a list to a realtor investor not too long ago with a list of properties. And so, we can hold that as leverage. Hey, we have realtors, we have people that want to invest and to take these properties off your hand if you're not going to do anything with them, or you can, continue this and do nothing and have the town force you to do it, and possibly put a lien on the property and things like that. And so we have seen, some of our most targeted areas, we have seen turnover in property and folks wanting to buy the properties or have already bought them. Some of the properties that were on the list have come off the list because they've secured building permits. So, everyone is in different stages. But that's certainly a good aspect for us to have the private market to address these structures, these blighted structures.
Aaron, have we got any permits being held up? I'd always been told, and I believe it's true, that nothing happens in November and December because everybody's getting ready for the first of the year, going to wait till after the first of the year. Have we got any permits that are being held up? Like I know one was mentioned to me 3 months ago, and they were waiting for the Board of Adjustments to meet and make a ruling on it. Do you know anything about, we're not holding
The
up
Board of
anything, but
Adjust-
we're not holding up anything, are we?
No, sir. The Board of Adjustment met, and the two cases that they had, one was for a residential substandard lot. They've already completed their zoning permit and moved on to the county for their building permit. That was a little easier because they're building a single-family detached home. They didn't have to go through another step of review. The other property was a commercial industrial site, and of course they would have to go through further review, site plan approval, to build what they would like. And I've met with that right after the approval of that variance. I met with the property owner to go over some of the requirements that are required as far as development standards, as far as landscaping and buffering and parking and things of that nature. And so they have that information. So they haven't submitted anything. I don't have anything in the queue right now as far as land development submittals. I have one minor site plan, I believe it's for the Veterans Memorial, and I'm waiting on their engineer to submit revised plans for me. That's approved, in my office, so we just need a little bit more information on their site plan. I've had several pre-application meetings for development, so we'll probably see, a busy first of the year with subdivisions and special use permits. But nothing is being held up right now.
Market Street, I reckon it would be called industrial. You got anything on that, or is that what you were referring to a while ago?
Yeah, the industrial site at Market and Harnett.
Yeah.
The self-storage facilities.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Mr. Don Denning, he got the variance, and now I've met with him after the variance. We sat down to go over site plan development. He's taken that information. He's, when the last conversation we had about 2-3 weeks ago, he was going to, find an engineer, someone to help him to develop the site out to what he needs, what he can achieve at that site. So as far as I know, I haven't had any conversation with him since that pre-application meeting. And he's now working his end on what he needs to do to get it done.
Very good. Sounds to me like you're on top of it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's move on to new business. Kimberly, consider approval of deaf child sign application.
So we had an application for South Lincoln Street for a deaf child sign, 2 deaf child signs. The child in reference is currently 4 years old. According to our policy, the sign would stay up until they're 18 years old, which would be in 2036. There is a GIS printout of where we're proposing to put the two signs, at West Brockland and South Lincoln, and then South McLam. It's on either side of the house. We have the signs because we had two in Willa Chase, and that individual turned 18 this year, so those signs are down and they're in our facility currently. So we just need approval of the application to install the signs.
Make a motion, we install the signs.
Any other comments? All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. Okay, Kim, on the on-call.
So we started an on-call concrete contract in 2019, and that contract had a 3-year renewal period, so this year we had to go back out for bid. So we went out for bid on October 19th. Bidder questions were due by November 17th, which we had none. There were no addendums. The bid opening was December the 2nd. At that time, we only had one bid packet, so we didn't open it. We extended the bid 7 additional days. The extension of that bid was December the 9th, at which time we did receive 2 bid packets. Because it was an extension, we were able to open the bids. But the bids came in 52% higher than what they came to us in 2019. Now, keep in mind, our original contract does call for a 3-year renewal up to 5%. And at this rate, we're looking at like a 17% annual increase just from 2019. So at this time, the staff is asking that the board reject the bids, allow us to go back, revamp the bid packet, and put it back out for bid probably around next week, and let us bring it back to y'all in January.
Exactly what all do they do with their on-call?
So, if we have to do any sidewalk repairs, what we typically do is get a list together, so they're not doing one here and one there. So sidewalk repairs, if we have to do any driveway aprons, which we don't typically do those anymore. If we have to fix a ramp, we'll go ahead and make it ADA compliant per the NCDOT standards. So they'll do that for us. So any concrete pouring that we have to do, when we redid the front door of Town Hall, we had somebody come in it because we don't do concrete at all. One of the biggest advantages of this contract this year was they were able to do the walking trail at VS Park. And because we'd already put it out for bid, we already had those bid numbers held. And so we were able to get it at the rate that our contract was, as opposed to sending it out and potentially getting an increase on extending our walking trail for the community park. So.
Our current contractor did not rebid that, is that correct?
No, he was out of town, and he mailed it, and it did not get to us. It actually was returned. So, but at any rate, 52% is not something we can sustain in our budget. It's not something we planned for. So we would like to be able to go back and revamp the bid packet with some specific specifications. So.
And I make a motion that we do just that.
Thank you.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no.
Thanks.
Okay, Miss Angie.
Okay, tonight we've got some advisory board appointments. Let me just tell you, everybody that's on here is with the art board, planning board, library, and board of adjustments. We have vacancies that all of them can go on. The only one is the police advisory commission. We only have 2 at-large seats, and we have 3 applications. So when you vote on those, you only vote on 2. So how do y'all want to, do you want to go through, and we'll start with the art board, Ms. Linda Peacock?
I got a question real quick.
Okay.
And I'm not on this committee anymore, but at one point in time, me and Commissioner Stack and Commissioner Holly were on this committee. And I can't remember if it was a town rule that we put in when we amended that, or if it was a committee rule between us 3. So I'm asking you, but when we were making these decisions as a committee presenting, we did not allow more than one person to sit on more than one board at a time. And I know that a couple of the applicants here have applied for more than one board.
Mm-hmm.
For me, that's a concern, so I just wanted to put that out there for discussion to see how the rest of them, because I'm not on the committee, want to see how the rest of the board members feel on that.
Well, I was in favor of it at the time that we had it, and I'm still in favor of it. I don't think they should be able to serve on more than one board at the time.
We'll have to go back and look, because I'm thinking they can serve on more than one, and you got to, honestly, we've had to actually almost beg people to serve on these boards. We're still planning, planning is usually a board that we have numerous applicants. Even with this, we're gonna still have vacancies on the planning board.
Well, the only one I really know, I know all the people, but Danette Ingram was Jernigan Ingram. Is the person that's really pushed the drug education program, the Joko Angels.
Yeah, she's on that.
Co-chairman of that. And I don't have a vote in this, but I'd sure recommend that she be put on. And the other two, I think, are on another committee, aren't they?
Jason Hall is on planning board.
I thought he was coming off of that. Did you say that?
He's not on the board right now.
No,
Just applied for two.
yeah, he's got a application in for the planning board. Jason. The last time they had met, it'd been like 2018, 2019, but Aaron has decided that, as far as that goes, maybe meet with them at least quarterly, just to keep them up to date on what developments and everything are going on, instead of, they had met, like, I think it was 2019, right, Aaron? Or
Yeah, they met.
2018?
They've met
We just
they
met.
just met
but-
in November.
If we were to take that recommendation, that takes care of one of the double applicants. So let me ask you this question.
Okay.
As far as the art board and the library board, how many vacancies do you have on each one of those boards right now?
I'd have to go look. The R board will be, because everybody on there can renew, because they stagger theirs. Some will be coming off this year, some will be coming off, because it was just formed, what, in 2019, probably 2020.
Right.
So, they can all renew for second term. But Ms. Peacock is the only one that I've got. I just got another application today from another member of the art board, which I will bring back in January, to be reapproved for their second term. But the planning board, I'd have to go back and look. We still have vacancies. What did y'all find?
Sorry, yeah, we were looking at the revision in March, but the revision
It
doesn't
did-
say.
I looked it up today before I came here.
It doesn't
That
say.
was a committee rule, I think, that we had, that we didn't allow. We wanted to leave it vacant because most of these were 2-year terms, and we wanted to say if somebody moved in and wanted to get on, we didn't want somebody to be clogging up all the spots.
I know y'all did amend all your advisory boards, I think, requirement that they can only serve 2 terms.
2 terms, and then they have to set off a year,
So I
and
don't think
then,
there was
yeah.
I don't
an
think they,
actual amendment to the ordinance anyway.
But we don't know what the vacancies are on the art board versus what the vacancies are on the so if we were to put Ms. Peacock's application on one or the other, we're trying to figure out which one she may be needed on.
okay,
And
if,
then, if we were to move Jason and accept him on the planning board, then that would leave 2 people for the 2 positions for the police board. In my mind, that would be the way I would vote.
right, Miss Linda Peacock, this is her first term. I think Tyler has talked with everybody on the art board.
There's 3 vacancies on the art board, and we have 2 applications. The one you're gonna take in January, and then Linda.
Right, and they're all will be serving their second term.
Is the library board and museum board the same thing?
No, they're
No,
separate.
there's 2, and,
Cause which one are you on, Mac?
He's on museum.
I'm on library.
Linda Peacock's on that.
yeah,
one, too.
we're having a,
She is, and
She's on 3 then.
yeah, but like I said, just like the Board of Adjustments, when we met with them in November, we had to ask every member and said, please, if you would be willing to serve another term. I mean, we don't have, these are all the applications I got.
Well, let me tell you what happened before. When I first come on this board, they had several people serving long-term things. We had to go out and solicit people and ask them to do that. So right now, I believe that we have new people that have moved into town, and I believe if they knew, they would be able to serve or want to serve on some of these boards. I would be happy to ask them.
Yeah, and I'll be glad to give you
Yeah, okay. Well,
applications
let's
if you
just
can
put this
get them
on.
in, because this,
Tyler, did this go out on Facebook? I mean, does this go out regularly on our Facebook page?
Yeah, we do post it from time to time.
yes.
Okay.
And-
Actually haven't posted the current vacancy level.
So
Yeah,
we
we
have-
posted them back in
Oh, that's right,
October.
we did.
Yes, they have been posted, and like I said, we've even, Aaron has solicited
Well,
people.
everybody don't read those posts. Everybody don't do Facebook. I would be happy to go out and solicit some people. We done it before, and we got the boards filled.
Okay, well, that'd be great. I'd be glad
Put it in
to
a-
have
put
some
something in the
applications
newsletter.
turned
Tyler,
in.
They
we-
need to
we
do
put something
something,
on the
yeah.
newsletter about it?
Yeah, Tyler writes a newsletter, we can
Yeah,
definitely put it in
something
there.
the Newsletter about it. I just, I say, that would be one person on 3 boards, and not that it's, this isn't personal about anybody, but I just think that that's clogging up a lot of spots. When we came on, like I said, we made a lot of people mad because we threw a lot of people off that
Well,
have been sitting on board 16.
And
20
I'll
years.
also, after tonight, I'll send you all an email and let you know just how many vacancies that we do have after we,
Well,
Alright.
I was
Who's
gonna,
on there and what time they got left on their term, the whole.
yeah,
3 yards.
because,
I will say that Greg had texted me and said he was fine if you put Jason on planning and then have Tawanda and Danette do police.
Right.
So,
I think that would keep the continuity across our different advisories,
But then do you keep Tawana on, Board of Adjustments?
okay, now she has never been on, she's not been on the board.
She's not.
She's coming off the planning board.
All just new applicants. I mean, that's,
yeah, Tawanda's coming off planning and.
This was
and-
her second
go
term on
to
planning. So
Board of
she's coming,
Adjustment.
she has to come off a year. So since she was coming off with that, and we needed members for the Board of Adjustments, she did an application for that.
how many vacancies do we have on that?
I
We-
should have
we
brought
don't-
my,
We don't know.
Is it on your computer?
no, I don't know, I doubt it.
She
'cause I-
knows, but she just don't have it with her.
Right.
Oh, yeah, I can send an email out tomorrow and let you know, but the Board of Adjustments is not, with these 3 on here, we'll still have vacancies.
What's the wishes of the board?
To maybe, do what was suggested, maybe list it in the newsletter, maybe on Facebook again, and I guess try to solicit more applicants, as, you know, we see the vacancies, and when the terms start and end.
So are you gonna vote on any of them, or we're gonna table it and bring it back until?
Let's just table and bring it back.
Put, Ned and Tawanda on the police board, and,
Did this go through, because y'all 3 are the committee now,
That-
right?
Yeah.
Because, so did y'all meet?
No,
with
there's
this?
not really, because
we're
we,
like the Board of Adjustments, we only been like 2 years. No, we ain't bad on it.
Because we used to meet every year, like,
but-
that's what our policy says, that the committee would meet and then we would sit and the 3 of y'all would look at them and then y'all would look at these vacancies and then bring that recommendation and we would be done. But
Well.
that's not happening.
because last year it was all sent out and I got no response. So,
Can we just table it?
He's made a motion on the police.
Yeah, I made a motion to, go ahead and put Danette Ingram and Tawanda Shepherd.
Well, the 2 planning board members are both new, so I would make a motion that we both,
Okay.
that we accept the 2 planning board.
okay, well, let's do one at a time.
All right.
Okay, so
the
okay, let's start with the art board. Are we tabling that?
Yes.
I think we've
Well, she's
tabled,
already
I
on
made
the
the
board.
motion that we table the art board until we find out what our vacancies are.
Okay. All right, let's do the planning board. Does somebody make a
I
motion
make a
to?
motion that we accept the 2
Don't you need to
memberships for the planning board.
All in favor, say
I
aye.
need to vote.
Opposed, no. All right. Police advisory, he's made a motion on that Tawanda and Danette. Somebody make a motion.
I did.
Oh, he
Thank
made
you,
it.
Yeah.
made a motion.
You need to vote.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, no.
Okay, library.
We're gonna table
I
that.
make a motion we
Table.
table that.
Does everybody,
Yeah.
And then
Vote
the Board of
table.
Adjustments,
I make the motion that we accept Kelvin Barber and Hampton Whittington at this point in time and then table the other applicant. Because we put her on the police advisory until we see what the vacancies are.
okay, or, he's got a motion, or they're gonna vote
Yeah.
on those two?
you made a motion.
I made a motion that we accept Kelvin Barber and Hampton Whittington on the Board of Adjustments.
Okay.
Table to one.
All in favor, say aye.
Uh,
Opposed, no. Anything else?
That should be that.
So, that leaves, where's the museum board at? You don't need anybody?
We didn't have any for
Leaves
that
the
one.
art board and,
Library.
library.
Museum board didn't have anything.
The art board and the library are tabled.
Right.
Museum board does have a bunch of vacancies though this week.
Right, but no applications.
I'll find somebody.
Yeah.
And I just asked you a question, and I don't know the answer to this question, but it's just food for thought. Considering we have the same director for both of those, would it make sense to merge those two boards?
Well, he has asked that.
He's asked before.
Well, why don't we look at doing that so that we don't need to have 10 volunteers for that, and we can only have 5 to serve on both?
And since he's the cultural arts director, maybe just call it the cultural arts board as opposed to library museum.
I would be in favor of that. I don't know how the rest of y'all feel, but that seems like, I mean,
Well, you got some that thought it was like that.
No, art is my life, so.
or is your life?
Make a motion that we do that.
Do we need to make a motion to do that now, or do
I
we need to
would
let,
think you do.
do we
Do
need to
we
let Derek?
We'll have to-
Well, I,
Why don't we let Derek and y'all work out?
Yeah,
the logistics
let's
and
bring that
this
back
in
next,
January?
in January.
Fine.
We need a motion for that.
Put everything off to.
yeah, because Derek had even brought it up to me and wanted to know if the board, if they could be merged,
Santa,
so,
Santa Claus is
You gonna be
coming.
around tomorrow?
so.
Something's gonna happen tomorrow. I need to-
Okay, so the art board and the library board has not, didn't vote on those.
Right, they're
Right.
tabled,
All right.
And
we're
tabled
waiting
to
on,
Wanda and
Ms.
police.
Shepherd.
Yeah.
yeah, for the Board of Adjustments.
I mean, yeah, yeah, sorry.
Well, Tawana was put on the police.
Yeah, she was put on police, sorry.
All right, Angie, financials.
Okay. At the end of October, closing out the month of October, this town stands at 29.7% in revenues and 37.32% in expenses. We just had a staff meeting last week. Last Tuesday, and we met with all the department heads, and Kim and I spoke to them, and that we're gonna have to be very conservative with our spending. We are getting in tax revenue. We just got a check for November, so we're starting to get our taxes in. But with everything going up, materials and stuff, that we're really gonna have to be conscious of our spending.
Some of the people are doing a really good job with it, but we got, the other half is not. And, they're in the ditch. And they got to start taking some seriousness with the money in the bank.
Yeah.
And if you look at the amount of money that's set aside, that you got set aside don't leave much in the bank. So
And also, they will,
I
they'll,
think Angie's taking it serious.
well, they'll also
She got a
start getting,
boss over there.
well, they'll also start getting, financials every month so that they can see where they're standing, so they can see where their line items are each month. So I just need a,
I make a
Motion.
motion we approve.
well, thank you, Ms. Holly.
Let's move on.
All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no.
Okay, that's all for me.
Town manager's report, Mrs. Pickett.
So Friday, we are doing our Christmas drive-through for our employees. It starts at noon. I would love for y'all to come out and pass out lunches with us if you're available to. We'll be in the parking lot back here. Also, if you would like to donate any gifts to the employees, you can let me know. Lisa has been working on that, so she's done a really good job, but she's done an amazing job. But if you guys want to add anything, you just call me or Angie or Lisa, and we can help y'all with that. Facilities will be closed the 23rd, the 26th, and the 27th of December for Christmas, and again on January 2nd for the new year. And then I want to give you guys just a quick update on some ongoing projects. We have completed our AMP hydraulic study. That study did determine exactly what we thought, that the west side of town does see some lower water pressures, and so they are recommending that that is where a water tower should go. They're going to probably come in January and present that hydraulic study to you all. And then that study just tells us that's a place for it to go, but there's still a lot more that goes with that. So we're working through what that study came up with. The ADA transition plan, I have the draft, I've reviewed the draft, I've sent back to Withers that they can, let's move to the next step of the draft. We should start seeing some movement in that in January as well. System development fees. We have given them all the documentation that they need for the system development fees in the water department. I anticipate that that starts moving January, February as far as public hearings and getting that presentation to the board. The septic hauling station, Brian and the Wooten Company have been working on that. They are getting some headway in what that's going to look like. They're trying to get up actual revenues of what that's going to bring to the sewer fund, and I would anticipate probably second quarter of the new year that y'all will see some information come out on that. That's just how we can get it back. It's not a funding mechanism to it, so we got a plan, and then we'll start looking for how we're going to make that happen. I mentioned last month that the VS Fieldhouse project was complete. The Public Works facility in and of itself is complete. There's some things here and there that we need to do. We've got to put a fence around the perimeter, and we've got to get a pole shed built. The dog kennel's got to get moved, but we're going to probably wait until the new fiscal year to do that. And once we get all that done, we'll have our ribbon cutting ceremony. In regards to the upgrade of the water plant, so we had the Wooten Company come and speak with y'all in November, and literally a week later, DEQ came back and told us that that although they are probably going to be okay with the study of Mingo Swamp, they're not going to allow anyone to discharge into the Cape Fear until they're done with their study on the Cape Fear, and that could be at least 2 years. So we've had more conversations with DEQ, and we are going to have to change our focus on how we're going to do the upgrade of the plant. So currently, we talked with DEQ, and they're in agreement, and we talked with the funding source for the legislative money. And we are going to start building the plant as if it were a 3.75. We're going to upgrade as if it were a 3.75 plant, and then use the $22 million. And as they're finishing the Cape Fear, we'll figure out where the discharge is going to be. We're still going to do the study on Mingo Swamp, hoping that we can get into the Cape Fear. But DEQ has also told us that we could go upstream of our current location into the Hannah Creek. The difference is Mingo is $8 million, Hannah Creek is 14. So obviously we're going to still work to get into the Mingo Swamp, but because we know there's a 2-year limit, or at least 2 years before we even get that determination, we need to go ahead and start using the money because we have it until 2026. So we had a meeting this past week. Brian and the engineers are working through what components of the plant need to be fixed now, what needs to be upgraded now. We are working on that budget, and we will have that form that DEQ needs for the legislative money turned into them by the end of December, so that money can officially, we can get our letter of funding, and we can start moving forward with that project. Is there any questions? It changes, like we had the meeting with DEQ, Commissioner Chandler and Commissioner Neighbors were in there, and then literally it changed a week or so later. I mean, so it's changing, feels like every time you turn around something's changing, but I'm thinking this direction with having spoken with the permitting folks for the illicit discharge, or for the discharge, having spoken with the funding source. We had them all on the call at the same time. It's to do it in phases is kind of our direction at this point. They seem like that they're agreeable to that, doing it in phases. So phase one, go ahead and upgrade to a 3.75, just not discharge to that amount, and then phase two would be your discharge point.
Well, with as much money as involved and as many projects as going on and as many changes, I still say every month that we ought to have an engineer crowd in here from either or both to inform us what they're finding out. They informed us at that meeting what could happen. And like you said, a week later, everything changed.
Yeah.
We have got to, don't know if any of you have checked on the county commissioners. They're still pushing a regional. We're not going to get any big money if we do not hook up with regional. I'm not talking about the alliance. I'm talking about regional growth. The water, the funding, everything's going to come from the Cape Fear. The Neuse River has not got enough volume to handle all the construction that is coming down from Wake County all the way down. Johnson County, that's all the commissioners were talking about. Hey, we've got to get through Four Oaks. We've got to get through Benson. We've got to get to the Cape Fear. And they can't bypass us, but we've got to get on the regional program as far as that's where our senators, all our politicians, that's where the 100 millions are going to come from. They're going to put it in a regional program. They're not going to look at Benson. They're not going to look at Four Oaks and says, well, let's give them 100 million. We're sitting where we need to be because we're the first thing this side of Harnett County. We've got to do our homework so we won't. These funds that we're getting, they're not guaranteed funds. If we're not doing what she's talking about, going ahead and getting prepared to do, we could not get any of it. I really think that the regional is the big way to start looking, and I feel like our engineers, both parties, they are so involved in this throughout the county. They're doing so many projects. We need to have them in here and say, well, nothing's changed. Or, yeah, we just been told this has changed and this is going to reroute our water or this is going to reroute our sewer. I just feel like they need to be on the program so everybody here can hear it from somebody that is doing the work on it.
I can talk to them and see if they can't be here once a month, maybe they give you a written report and it can go in with the document, with the department reports.
Even if we can't get engineers here once a month, but what the county's got going on, because they're working on that regionalization plan right now, I think it would be a good idea to reach out to Chandra or to some of the commissioners and see if we could have a meeting with them to see, because we're going to need additional funding, and the funding is going to come to the county, and we need them to be a part of our plan to see if they can help with some of our funding shortages.
Yeah, and I was at the county commissioner meeting last week, and I have the report that was given. It was just kind of what's the next step as far as when we've been a part of that. We have had staff answer questions for that firm. So I mean, we have been a part of what the county is doing, but I can get you guys some information on what they presented.
I think the chairman, Butch Slaughter, he would come down and be tickled to death to inform us. I was talking about the meeting before that. Mr. Smith, Butch, all of them were pumping up this end of the county. They were pumping up Benson, and we need to just know more about what's going on the county level.
Okay, we can get that for y'all.
Let me just clear the air a little bit, because what you guys are saying is not true. The regionalization that has been talked about has been generated by the county. And that county went and got a group of people to study, an engineering firm that studied it. They made the report at the county commissioners meeting last Monday. Kim and I were there. We listened to the county's report and we listened to the engineering firm's report. And the county is completely different than the plans that you saw that was generated by the other engineering firm.
Yeah.
They did that for the alliance, had nothing to do with the county. What the engineers are doing for the county is the regionalization plan that they're going to decide. They're going to have another meeting with those people after presenting what they presented. And anybody that wants a copy of that report, we've got a copy of the complete report. And we'll give it to you. But the alliance is not the song that we're singing now, because it's completely different. And we've got to get into Cape Fear. But we had to go to Plan B because we wouldn't be able to spend the money in the time period that they gave us, and identifying where it's going to be spent in 2024 and had to be completed in 2026. Now, if the Treasury, if the federal government don't change that, that's what we're up against. But I think things changed for the positive when Kim was in the first meeting that they had, and they've got some new people and some smart people that is in DEQ. And as a result of her being there in the first meeting made a difference because they talked the same language. But the second meeting was held by the engineers with DEQ by themselves. There was nobody there from Benson. We found out in the third meeting that's when the change came about. And I don't know that that the 2 years to getting settled on going to Sudan is going to come. It probably will come before that. The 4 years that we can get our into the Cape Fear is probably true in getting the upgrade done completely so that we can get a permit for 375. We can still make the change without a permit, but we just can't provide that much
Discharge.
sewage to doing the plant. But regionalization, no question, is a word that's being used, but it's not going to be the only song in town.
All right, Jay, and what's the difference in what you just said and I said? Okay, I didn't say anything.
It's not the regionalization plan that your brother's engineering firm put together. That was done completely for the alliance.
That has nothing to do with the regionalization.
It does too. That was the original
Bullshit, it doesn't.
regionalization plan.
No, I told you it wasn't the alliance, okay? It's regionalization is not the alliance, okay?
With that plan it is. I mean, they admit that.
If I can move forward, so Mingo Interceptor Phase 1, we are having a meeting with the 6 property owners that we need for potential easements, whether they be temporary or permanent, on Thursday. We're going to have just a public meeting with them, kind of show them what the plan is, what the project in and of itself is, and if you all recall, Mingo Interceptor is to eliminate King Circle lift station and the current Chicopee lift station and create a new lift station on the other side of 95. And it will also, so it'll give sewer, a better pump station on that side, but it'll also give us capacity because we're going to go under the railroad to the left of Chicopee to give us more sewer capacity down 301. So eventually, where we can tie in. So we're going to have our meeting with the property owners on Thursday, and then I have do what?
With lunch.
With lunch, yeah.
Try to get more of them to come.
We have submitted the BRIC grant, so that was what Ramey Kemp is working on for us. If y'all recall, that's to do the stream restoration at the old Public Works facility where the culvert came out of the ground during Hurricane Matthew. That process is a two-step process. You have a pre-application submittal, and then you have a full application submittal. So we had our pre-application submitted. We have met with the BRIC grant committee. We are actually looking really good. We're like 14th. So if they were to fund us, that would have been we would have been in the running for the funding. They have given us some things to go back and renew and revisit. So we are currently working on that. We meet with the engineers on Friday to finalize essentially that application. It's due before Christmas. So we are currently working on that. We hope to hear something about that in like first, second quarter of 2023. And then finally, in anticipation of knowing that we probably needed a new elevated storage tank, I submitted an application to the county a couple months back. They had some ARPA funds. They sent out a notice to the towns. There are 11 towns in the county, so they sent out a notice and said, put in an application for something that you need in regards to infrastructure, and that would meet the ARPA criteria. So in anticipation that we were going to need $2.5 million for an elevated storage tank, I submitted an application for that. It did go before the board. 7 towns submitted applications. It was us, Clayton, and Selma, I believe, were over $1 million. Smithfield, we're over $1 million. Everybody else is pretty much under the $500,000 threshold that they were kind of gauging for each town. It did get approved to get $500,000, but after the next item on the agenda, the vote got they did a revote, and it actually got tabled to January. So they asked the staff to go back and review, mainly because of the 3 towns, us and Clayton and Smithfield, that had requested more than $500,000. The question from the board was, can they do this project without the money? So I'm really hoping that maybe we'll get a little more than $500,000. I didn't anticipate getting the full $2.5 million. If we do, that's great. But I will be keeping up with that board meeting in January. But it would be fantastic if we had the report in hand that showed we needed a water tower, and the only other thing we had to do besides finding funding is to figure out where it's going to go. So just so you know, there's a lot of moving parts. I don't contact y'all every single day to tell you what I've done, but we are very, very busy. Know that we're working, and staff is working to find y'all money everywhere we can absolutely look. If you ever have a question, you guys know how you have my number. I think I will answer my phone. It does not matter what time of day it is. So give me a call if you have any questions. I'm here if you need me. Set up a time, come talk to me. But I'll give you all the information I can. I'll try to update y'all every board meeting like this. It's just a lot coming at you at one time, I understand. So if you need anything else, let me know. Have a Merry Christmas.
Okay,
I can't elaborate any more than what Kim just went through on all these general projects, so nothing further unless there are questions of me.
Commissioners,
Had 3 things. You just answered one, was about the stormwater, the sewer plant expansion. Item number 2, I didn't get to it in cultural reports. Parks and Recreation, it looked like in Matt's letter to us that the Part F grant is complete.
Yes.
So what is our completion estimate on the multi-use field and the remaining fields? Do we have any idea when that will be complete as a project?
What do you mean?
The grading and the setup of the multi-use field and stuff across the street.
Oh, ELJ.
Yeah.
I think that they're trying to get on Ed's schedule to come back out and fix that, what needs to be fixed out there.
Is DOJ doing that? I thought that was another contractor doing
Steady Holland did the original work,
that. Okay.
but he had an accident. I don't think he's working right now, but Ed did our ball fields, and Ed is actually, when all the dirt was available at Chicopee, he called me and said, hey, get some of that topsoil, because he would need it for the ball fields, and he said we can always go back and dress up what needs to be leveled at the multi-use field. So we just got to get on his schedule. I think it's that time of year. He's really busy right now. I know Jeremy talked to him last week, so I'll touch base and see where we are.
Second thing on my list, I know y'all really busy. About a month and a half ago, we talked about the paving, about putting together a list of
Yeah.
streets that needed paving. Have
Yep.
we got that? Is that in process? Because we should have quite a bit of funds.
It is. Jay is, I gave Jay the resurfacing schedule
Okay.
that we originally had. He also has been working on all the different projects that we have on the books, on the horizon, and he is getting together. He actually sent me a map the other day of the pinpoint locations, and so he is working on that for us. The biggest thing, what we're trying to do, which we've missed the window. We usually did the bid around October. We did pave it in November because the asphalt plant, I anticipate, is probably closed down at this point. If not, it's getting ready to until probably middle of January. But he is working on that. We want to make sure that the streets that we're paving are close enough together for their mobilization fee. So we want to keep that down as much as possible. So hopefully we can get something to y'all around, at least in January, to give you guys the list.
That's all I've got.
Paving was one of the things that I had down it. None's been done since 2019.
That is correct.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And that was because we had decided to take 2 years' worth of PAL bill and 2 years' worth of fund balance and put it together. And then, so that was 19.
Don't we budget $100,000 a year?
Yeah. But that over 2 budget years.
Right.
But that was in 2020, so then it's 2022, and now we know all the projects that are coming up. And that was one of the things that Jay was working on, was overlapping maps of streets, because we know if we're going to go and lay new water lines or new sewer lines, we're going to repave the street and add it somehow into that project. And so that's hopefully money that's covered, and we don't have to use PAL bills. So
If we don't pay, can we at least send some people around to fix some potholes? The majority you drove around town.
yeah, absolutely. There is the
And they're doing-
they are
they're
doing
that.
it, yeah. But we cold patch though, so
Yeah, but
we don't have a hot
doesn't
patch
last.
machine.
Yeah.
We have a cold patch. But keep in mind, there's the Benson app. So if you see a pothole and you get on that app, there's a GPS system on that. So it will pinpoint exactly where you are at that time. You can take a picture of it. You can send it to us. We can create a work order in our system, and we can get somebody out to do it. But they are cold patching. But like you said, it doesn't stand up very long. I mean, it's cold patch.
That's expensive stuff too.
Yeah, it is. And the other thing I had, we had discussed cutting the trees back in March. We don't need to wait till March to find
Right.
somebody to quote it.
Right.
January would probably be good. You can't get anything done in December.
I'm working. That's on my list of to-dos.
You can't. And that's all I had, except I hate, some of you don't read your snail mail. You missed a good meal at the fire department.
I don't.
Some of us ate well, didn't we?
It was very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. Very good.
So, anyway, Mac said he would have been there.
You're not alone. I missed it too, man. Sorry I missed it, guys.
Merry Christmas to all of you.
And that's what I'd just like to say is Merry Christmas to everyone here. I hope you and your family have a great holiday. The town as well, or staff. I really don't have anything that's pressing on my mind right now. I'll see you if I do.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sandra?
Yes, I do. So I've gotten a few calls about excessive music from Ames Trailer Park that's lasting to late hours in the night. And, I was asking about our ordinance, or, if we're even enforcing it. And this has been like ongoing on weekends, and I think some nights they're having excessive music.
Okay.
So I don't know if we need to get in contact with property owner out there or what, but it's getting pretty bad.
Well, and I'll say this, we do have officers on call, or that are patrolling, but the best way to get it handled is if they call in and file a report. So if they hear the music, have them call 911 so they can dispatch one of our officers out there, because if the best time to do it is when it's happening. But Greg, have you heard anything? Yeah, if we don't hear the reports, we don't know to go out there. So have them, whoever called you, just say next time, please call 911 and report it. I know some people don't want to do that because it's not an emergent situation, but
And I'm thinking that a phone call was made. I'm gonna go back and check, but I think they said they did make a call. Okay.
yep.
Right, and I think they were told that they would go out there, or they did, but the music would only start back up once they leave, something like that. But I
Okay.
think the person did call.
Okay. Well, we'll look into it for you.
Okay.
Yep. We can let you know something.
All righty. And Merry Christmas to everyone. I hope you have a wonderful next year.
Thank you.
Thank you for all the town staff for what you do. I hope everybody has a Merry Christmas and like you.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry.
Does all the town's employees get that?
Yes, so we started an employee committee. So one employee from each department comes in and we meet quarterly. And one of the suggestions that they said was do a newsletter for this staff, just so we kind of know what's going on. So that was my first draft of a newsletter. I'm going to try to send them out quarterly to the employees the second month of the quarter. But what I find fascinating is you look on there and you see how many people have been here. You know, there's a 25-year, I think, and a 20-year, I think Whitman's anniversary was in there. So it's good to recognize the staff, but I'm trying to keep them up to date on stuff that's going on that maybe they don't hear. So Pickett's Points is what we called it. Thanks, Tyler.
Max?
I got two things. First thing is, give us the status of the playground at the Grove. What's going on there, and how's it going?
So he has been talking with the playground companies and looking to see if there's any type of grants. You know, Matt says playground companies are like used car salesmen. You can try to work out a deal with them. But obviously we are trying to find some other means of funding for that. We have money in the budget, but it would be nice if we could get some grant money. So he's looking at open space grants with Johnston County as well as some other places. So probably bring that back in January.
The other thing is that the first meeting in January, I might be here, I might not. I have a knee replacement next Monday, so I don't know how long it'll take me to be back.
You'll be back.
I'm hoping it'll be.
You'll be back.
You getting one of your sons like I got?
Yeah.
Yeah. The same company? Is he gonna sit in and watch it?
No, he can't. Michael Sutherland's going.
Okay. Michael sat in on mine. Good luck. I didn't know you were going.
Doing it.
You have a replacement?
Total knee replacement.
No, Richie.
And they said 6 months, I'll be back in a year and a half. Is how long it took me to walk up the stairs. I mean, it was awful.
Two things. The Mayor's Association now is getting to be pretty strong in the county. We got a meeting tomorrow night, and the two subjects that's on the agenda is paving. How much money could we save if all the towns in the county had a contract with the same paving company? We're going to see what that's like. And also, Smithfield picks up their garbage. Pine Level does theirs. Selma has got an RFQ out now to buy a truck to do their own garbage pickup. So That's on the subject tomorrow night to talk about whether we could get a county garbage service for everybody. And he's gonna have the cost of the trucks and what they have to spend for the cans and all that. And I think those two things have a lot of possibility, and if we can get everybody together. And when we had the meeting with the county, we had all 11 mayors at that meetings to meet with the chairman, with Butch. And so,
Jerry, if that doesn't happen, is there any way that we can renegotiate all the trash cans that we have?
Well, we're looking at it. We have another, I think, year.
We'll go back
Yeah.
out. bid.
We're gonna go back out for bid next time.
Be interested in putting in some bids from what I've been told.
I
Yeah.
mean, the garbage business is a problem in the county. I don't know whether it's all over the country or not, but this company that's come in is a foreign company, and they're gonna turn everything green, and the garbage is gonna be laid out in the street or around the houses because they're not doing a good job of picking it up for anybody. And our cost is quite a bit higher than Four Oaks. Four Oaks recently went with them, and they gave them a startup price, I think. So we're going to also compare some prices on some things. So I think if we can just get this group working together, the town working together, then I think we can make some things happen. Anything else anybody has to say? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make the motion that we adjourn.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. You are adjourned. I did that for William.